And we are live. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to Printavo University. We're actually canceling the program today. We will not be having it. April Fools, we're of course having it. We're all here, and I got each and every one of you, I'm sure. But I am Nick at Printavo. I'm on the sales team, and I'm so excited. We're going to be talking about a topic that I know very little about today. We're going to be talking about filing your taxes. And I would love to hear where people are from who are watching the stream. So yeah, who do we got in the audience? Who's watching today? Where are you from? I'm out in sunny North Hollywood, California, and my co-host here, he is in, I don't know the weather in Chicago today, but Matt Marcotte, go ahead and tell us how the weather in Chicago is today, as well as anything else you'd like to tell us, and introduce our wonderful guests.
Well, thanks for reminding me. It's 34 degrees currently outside in sunny, frigid April, Chicago. Good attempt at the April Fool's joke. I think I still got everybody today. I did let everybody know this morning at Printavo on our Slack chant. I started the day off saying, hey guys, I can't make it to work today. I broke my leg last night. I had poor Bruce like, oh, take as much time as you need. Like everyone's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then I'd be like, just kidding. So I kind of felt like a schmuck on that one, but happy April Fools, everybody. So yeah, we're really, really excited about today. Taxes, sales tax, and finances all around with some profit first specialists. So if you don't know what profit first is, where you been, first of all, but secondly, you're gonna learn a whole lot about it today. So without any further ado, I want to introduce the folks over at Spark Business Consulting. We've got Stephanie and Kelsey. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Kasey and Stephanie.
Can I unmute now? All right, here we go.
Yes.
You want me to be quiet? No, so this is, I'm Kasey Anton. I own Spark Business Consulting. We are based just south of Boston, Massachusetts. I started the company about 13 years ago, right after I sold my restaurants in Boston. So in my previous life, I was a restaurateur. So got out of that, got married, had kids. Restaurant life was not for me. But what I did notice being a restaurateur and knowing the ups and the very downs of having a business, the one thing that was constant is you got to know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. So that's where I really honed in that skill, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and started a consulting firm based off of accounting and bookkeeping for small businesses. And built that. Stephanie was one of the first 3 employees I've hired. So she's been with the company for 100 years. And she heads up our wonderful screen printer division. Right, Steph?
I do. I'm Stephanie Warren. I'm so excited to be here today. I work with a lot of screen printers in Printavo. So this is very exciting for me. It is a rainy, miserable day here in Boston. And that is a Boston accent that you detect from me if you're confused, which we were chatting about before we joined you. So that's correct that I head up that division. I do a lot of work with, sales tax and things like that. So we're going to dive into that. I saw the PPP question. That's awesome. We're going to get into that. So I'm really, really excited. You guys can, ask us any questions that might be on your mind, and we're going to, just jump into it. It's going to be awesome.
I love it. So I am going to throw a name out there. The reason that we were able to connect with these awesome folks is from a great referral from our friend, Stephen Farrig at Campus Inc. So yes. I know he works with you folks. So that is how we were able to meet these great folks. So definitely worth everyone's time who's in the chat. Looks like people are very, very excited. So Nick, let's go ahead and dive in with some questions. And folks, as you have questions, go ahead and either type them in the chat or go ahead and click the ask a question button and put them in there. And I'll be sure to get them into the folks to talk about, okay?
Yeah, so let's start with an easy one. What are the benefits of hiring a bookkeeper to do your taxes instead of doing it yourself?
Oh boy, Steph, I'm gonna go on this one if that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to, because I actually just wrote a blog about this. God, where do I start? Unless you really know what you're doing, and I suppose there could be some screen printers or other business owners out there that just happen to master accounting on the weekends or on the side. And if that's you, then great, go for it. But otherwise, there is just so much to know, so much detail, so many things that you need to get right in order to have accurate records, accurate bookkeeping done, that I can't imagine the majority of business owners that we know have the time to do that, as well as run their business and put out all the fires that come with that. So the reason why you want to have really great bookkeeping, are endless, really. Again, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. So you want to know where you should be focusing all of your time. So I'd say any business, there's 1,000 different bells and whistles you got to attend to. But how do you know which one? And how do you know when? And how do you know how much of your time? So the numbers will show you that. The numbers will show you where you need to focus. That's just one whole area. Another whole area is, certainly for taxes, you don't want to overpay your taxes. I mean, you don't want to underpay them and get in trouble, but you don't want to pay too much either. So you want to really have those numbers accurate to make sure that you're only paying what you absolutely must. And I could go on, and Steph, you might want to chime in at this point, but I would say that, again, that unless you just have a great accounting acumen, it makes sense to have someone else reconcile and really work on the numbers for you, so there are no surprises, and so you know where you should be focusing your time and energy in your business.
So I got a question for you, Kasey. How do you keep up with this? Like, I'm always hearing about, like, oh, new tax laws, oh, new this, oh, new that, and like everything seems like it's always a moving target. So like you said, like, unless you're really good at it on the weekends, which I don't have the time for that. I'm doing enough things. I'm already doing 9 things at once and only doing all of them a little bit well, right? So how do you folks even keep up with the times and keep up with these changes? They're like a secret society of y'all that you go sit at a table and you talk about the new things, or how does this all actually work? How do you keep up to date with it? I knew it. How do I get in?
It actually is, yeah.
So we can keep up to date. Well, one, we have to. This is what we live and breathe all the time. But also, because we have almost 200 clients in our firm now, and we work with several different industries. One of the biggest industries is screen printers. We also work a lot in construction, retail, restaurants, and unfortunately law firms for whatever reason. So those are kind of like our big areas, and we do work with others, interior designers and so others as well. But we're in and out of all these people's businesses virtually, but we are in and out of all of them. So we have to kind of learn that language. We have to understand what's going on financially speaking with every one of these businesses. It's just part of what we do. So to go back to earlier, we said, like, you could actually get, if you don't want to do your books, and I'm going to say flat out, you just shouldn't. You could hire something cheap. There's like bench.co. There are some inexpensive places you could go to at least get your books reconciled and done. And that's step one. And I would say recommend you do that over nothing. But what a firm like ours provides, which is a little bit different, is not only the full reconciliation of the financials, but we also do these video reviews for you. So it's a screenshot, maybe 3 to 5 minutes with your financials. So in place of saying, attached, please find your March profit and loss, we're doing that, but we're going to, hey, here's a video. We're going to walk you through how we see this. We're going to teach you about your balance sheet and why that's important to you. And we're going to show you your P&L, and that's the story of your business. We're going to talk about the highs and lows that's going on there. So we're doing it in layman's terms so our clients can really understand what the numbers are saying. And because we have to do that with all these different industries, we have to learn what's going on all the time. And it's just data that's flying around us. Our team is a team of 10. We're 10 women right now that just share this information on a daily basis through Teams. And there's my little plug for Microsoft Teams. Not they pay me to do that, but that's my little plug there. We use Teams and we're constantly chatting. Steph, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, yeah, we are constantly chatting on Microsoft Teams. And I do everything Kasey said, I 100% agree with. And you're right, Matt, there is a secret society that we are in to get updates. We meet regularly, cloaks, the whole nine. But there is but we do like webinars and all kinds of things. Like we're linked right into the IRS and all the state sites and stuff. Like they extended the sales and use tax deadline. I was so excited to hear that information recently because it's been always due on the 20th, and now they've pushed it out to the 30th. That's a huge deal. We're the first to know about it. So it's like these types of things, I'm like running around telling everyone like it's some really exciting news, and that's just like what we live for. That's what we do. So, that's our job. It's just stay on top of this stuff and to be the ones excited about it, to get you excited about it. And if you're not excited, but that's fine. So we are for you. And we're going to, do it, get your books done and get your stuff paid on time, or not pay them, or, you know, do
that's what you need, though. You need to have nerds in your corner, right? Like,
exactly.
I say that lovingly. I'm a screen printing nerd,
I know you
right?
do.
So
Yeah.
we totally understand, like, find the nerds that are good at what they do and have passion for what they do, and let them do it for you.
Yes.
I'm not passionate about numbers. If you folks are, I don't understand you, but I really love it, and I'm happy about it, because then I can have folks like you take care of that stuff that I'm just not passionate about.
Yeah.
I think that's a really big, important factor to look at too, is if you're struggling with it, you don't find enjoyment in it, why the hell are you doing it? Give it to somebody else to do. Get an expert, right?
Yeah.
Let them do it.
Yeah, someone who's going to be excited about stuff like tax deadlines moving and be like legitimately excited about it. So yeah, just, you know, spread the joy with other people, you know, share it, especially if you dread it. So that's a great reason there. But also if you're, I just want to preface it by saying we don't do actual like income tax returns at year end. So we don't do that aspect of it. So having a bookkeeper who does your taxes for you will make that like actual return process a lot smoother and a lot easier too. And it you know, can maximize your tax deductions, things like that, and that tax bill at year end. So it'll just make that process a lot less stressful. And there's that kind of aspect to that as well. And then hopefully like getting those updates throughout the year. I know that people that had Spark with them during 2020, as all the changes were happening with PPP and things like that. And we were right there for like the grants and all of these things to help them and guide them. I know that that was like a very big difference between the people that didn't have a team like that on their side and we're just kind of going it alone. So obviously that's an outlier, but it's worth mentioning because we're all just coming out of 2020, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, there are a lot of questions about that. I do want to get into that. I want to talk about COVID and PPP and all that other stuff that I'm not 100% sure. But before we go into the stuff, we talked to a lot of shops that are just starting. In particular, since last year, people are dumping ship from old industry, moving into custom apparel. So before we get into more detailed stuff, let me ask an incredibly basic question. Do I have to reconcile my books if I own a business? What does that even mean?
Kasey's face just said it all. That was the best visceral response, all in a facial expression. But for some of us that may not know this, like, what is the importance in that? And like, what happens if we don't do it right? Do we have to even do it at all?
Yes, you have to reconcile your accounts and your books. So, and you do have to reconcile everything. So that is your checking, your savings, your credit cards, your loans, all of it, all the good stuff needs to be reconciled. And it needs to be reconciled.
I want to just jump in there. Second step, take one step back from that. So I actually end up talking with the majority of leads and prospects that come into Spark. Steph does some too, but that's kind of like my main focus right now. And we do get this question a lot. I think that a lot of people think reconciling means something different than what it actually does in accounting terms. So just to clarify that, the act of reconciling is really to match your bank statement with what is happening in your accounting software. Usually that's QuickBooks, maybe you use some other crap, but it's usually QuickBooks and it's to match it. They should mirror each other. And that's what keeps us all honest, right? That's how we know what's going on. That's what reconciling is. And any accounting software will have a feature built into it called reconciliation, where it requires you to check off every debit and check off every deposit that matches the paper PDF bank statement that every bank gives out. And then at the end of the day, you balance, you're tied to zero, and you can move on with your life. And that happens for all of your checking and your savings, as Steph was saying, your credit cards, and that also happens with your loans and lines of credit, or it should happen. All those places issue statements, and therefore they should be reconciled properly. When you don't reconcile the way the software was designed to do, what happens is that's where you pick up mistakes. And I have never done a set of books where there have not been mistakes, ever. And sometimes they're small, but that's rare. But sometimes, when some people think that with QuickBooks Online, for example, because that has that auto sync feature, right? And what it's doing is every few minutes or maybe every night, it's bringing in all the new data from all the money you went and spent, right? And then you can set rules, God forbid, but you can set rules to then bring it into your register. That's your checkbook register in QuickBooks. That's not reconciling. And I think that's what some people are confused on, because QuickBooks does that procedure accurately about half the time. So what I mean by that, it's either doubling or tripling your actual expenses, or it just dropped a whole bunch by accident. Whoops, like it just happened. So you can't trust QuickBooks auto syncing feature in that way. It's a nice little thing to have when it works. It's great. It doesn't always work. Like I said, it works exactly half the time. So at the end of the month, reconciling catches all those that dropped off the face of the planet for whatever reason. And it also catches all the duplicates and triplicates that happen. Because if you don't catch that with your reconciliation feature, then you've either completely overstated your income or understated. You completely overstated your expenses or understated. It's just flat out, it's not right. So reconciliation is really that. It's mirroring what actually happened in your bank accounts with what your software says, so that your financials can be perfect the way we do them at Spark Business Consulting. Perfect.
This sounds like it takes a long time to do. So if someone maybe wants to try to do it on their own, is it something that they can say, hey, you can likely do it in an hour a week if you stay on top of it? Or is it one of those things where it's going to take you hours a week, hours a month? What is that going to look like? If someone's starting off, maybe they're not quite ready to hire a Spark Business Consulting, what would you say would be a realistic guesstimate on how much time they're probably going to have to spend on this, so they can try to allocate that time to start building those good habits now? Do you have any kind of a ballpark?
I think that definitely depends on the volume of transactions for the business. So one business can have volume where, there's 15 to 20 transactions per statement, and you can knock them out in an hour. And then another business is going to have thousands of transactions, and they're, very small transactions that, they look a lot alike, and it can be very difficult to go through. So it really just kind of depends on not only the volume, but the content of the volume. So, it just really depends on the business to kind of not answer your question.
No, that's a good question. Is there a business that's too small that you wouldn't recommend to maybe even reach out to folks like you? Or do you recommend there isn't really a small size, get started off the right way first? Any thoughts on that?
You're muted.
Kasey, I think you're still muted.
Oh, sorry. All right. So to put that kind of simply, to answer that question, like I would say if you have one bank account, maybe even one credit card, and there's under 50 transactions total in your month, you can probably do it yourself. And quite honestly, we'd be happy to help just show you how to do that. I mean, we have a deep dive call you could book with us. In an hour, we can show you exactly what you need to do. And you could probably, if you're not, a complete freak show, possibly do that yourself and create somewhat minimal damage, maybe. So we
have a few freak shows in the industry, so we
Yep. I mean, it's possible, but here's the and I'm all for that. And there are prospects that have come through that I've actually said, you're not ready for it. You're too small, and it's fine. Come back to us in 6 months or a year from now. Because I think you can, I usually can kind of tell, or I think I can, if they'll be able to do it if they're that small, and they should try it. But again, we'll offer that free hour of our time to be like, hey, use this, this, and this. Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll do that. So we'll be able to do that for especially people on this call. But that would be it. I mean, beyond that, the problem though is when we've done that before, and we always offer that, people come back to us in 3, 6, 12 months with an absolute mess nightmare. And it takes, so here's a good point to know. It takes 3 times longer to fix something in QuickBooks or any software than it does just to do it right in the first place. So I would say to that person, if you're feeling confident and it all is clicking and makes sense to you when you're adding in those transactions and reconciling, and if it all looks right to you, then go for it. If at any point it's like this doesn't make any sense. Why do I have negative $100,000 in my bank account? It's not for you, and reach out for help. And the other end of that is if you plan on growing, I would recommend getting in with a company, a firm like ours, and there's plenty around that will get you set up the right way so that you don't ever get to that extremely messy, 5,000 strands of Christmas lights all tangled, because that's what a set of bad books will look like. And then you got to sit there and untangle all these lights. It takes forever. It's very costly. So before you get to that point, you might want to think about, getting it set and working with someone, even if it's just quarterly from the beginning, just to make sure you don't make that mess and you're on the right track. Did you want to add to that, Steph, or did I nail it?
You nailed it.
I have a follow-up question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Steph. You have a thought.
Yeah, no, I just want to just to reiterate or kind of like close the chapter on reconciling. And what Kasey said is that I had a new client come in and they swore up and down, back and forth, that they reconciled their accounts every month. They promised me, and they always reconciled it. They used the statement. It was all good. And then I would be coming into completed financials, and it was, everything was cool. And I went in and tried to do my first reconciliation, which would be off of theirs. And it was off by over $500,000. And it wasn't that big of an account. So it was significant damage in the books. And then I touched base with the client, and it turns out that what she thought was reconciling was adding the transactions in the bank feed center. And that's just not reconciling. So as Kasey mentioned, it's put the statement and the thing, that's reconciling, and that's what needs to be done. So it can cause a lot of damage if you don't have that check and balance.
Yes, that story relates very much to my next question, which is I bet some of the people watching today, and definitely some of the people watching on YouTube, will have made a big mistake, maybe even bigger than $500,000. So yeah. The question is, what happens when you make a mistake? Can that be unwound? Should you just close your business? What happens if you know you've made a mistake in your books?
Just walk away. No, I'm just kidding. We were shut it down. No, we were able to obviously like untangle that, but it's like, part of like, what's the first step to like correcting a mistake is like admitting that you've made one, right? Or getting help. So I guess, it depends on what the mistake is. And obviously like in this situation, it was kind of like admitting that there was a mistake, finding the mistake, getting help, getting the right help. And, once I was in there, I was able to untangle that and make everything correct. It wasn't that these were like lost books, or, I wasn't like, you need to just, shut it down. Like we were able to bring it back. So there's definitely, definitely don't bury your head in the sand if you're scared. Like if you think your books have gone too far, if you're like, oh, I've never reconciled, what's a statement? Like that's not, you can come back from anything. So don't be afraid. And definitely, I know that it's like a scary thing to approach, like Bookkeeper sometimes, because you're accountants, you're scared, because sometimes accountants are really mean and aggressive, like, because we deal with some that are like really like judgy and mean, and we're not. Like obviously we're not that. Kasey goes, I just saw her face. We're not that company. Like we're completely different. We have a different take on things. We're like your biggest fans. We're here for you. We're gonna support you. And we're not, we're gonna yell at you a little. We're gonna give you a little spanking that you've done something naughty or something bad. But we're not gonna, we're not gonna really drag you through the mud for it. So it's, you're gonna be fine. We'll make it better. We'll work through it together. Teamwork makes the dream work. We can pretty much fix most things.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. So I don't think there's a mistake we probably have not seen yet. I'm sure there is, but I mean, we've had people come to us who haven't filed their taxes in 17 years, and that's a great way to hide your head in the sand, except for two, they're gonna find you. Like so let's just figure it out. And we've had, God, other companies that didn't file and pay their 941 taxes. So what that is those are payroll taxes. That's the money that you take out of your employees' paychecks for, FICA, SUDA, FUTA, all that. And then you give it to the government on behalf of those employees, right? That's where it goes. Well, we've had companies take the money out of their paychecks, usually using QuickBooks Payroll, not a fan, and then spend that money and not give it to the government. And that's actually a usury tax. And that actually is where the mean IRS notices and jail time come in, because that wasn't your money to spend, right? So we've had companies come to us and they didn't file it, and they've owed hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. But, we can get in there, we can work with them, we can work with the IRS, and usually you can get an offer and compromise. I mean, you're gonna have to pay some of that back. I mean, you just are, but you can make a payment plan, you can do an offer and compromise. So, I mean, that was one of the worst things that we've seen, but we're able to fix it. We always find a way. But just like Steph said, it's like, just get ahead of it. And then we can show you a better way to do things. There's a lot of bad money habits out there. I think I had them years ago when I had my restaurants, but I've seen so much with money and how people react that I've kind of found the good ways and I made the good habits, and there's a better way to go. And I don't think there's anybody that we couldn't help or that can't be helped.
And before we move on, you folks brought up a really important part, like don't bury your head in the sand. And when dealing with finances, especially about your business, that is very emotional. That is very deeply rooted, and it can be embarrassing, especially if you didn't do it right. You're gonna feel responsible because you are, right? And it's going to be really hard to like open up. It's like opening up an emotional cavern, like being like, everybody here, look inside. So yes, I think it's important what you said about like, you folks aren't just those mean accountants. I've dealt with those accountants, right? And it's like, well, I don't want to talk to him. Like he's going to yell at me some more, and he's going to yell at me and then make me figure it out anyways, and still feel like I'm lost. Like, what the hell's the point, right? So I think what you said is really, really important. Of like, look, don't bury your head in the sand. If you didn't do something right, we're going to make sure you are aware of that. But we're also going to be on your team to help make it better, to work forward. So I think one big thing that I want to make sure that we really pull out of this is like, it's not too late unless you keep waiting, right? Just do it. If you need help, the first step, like Stephanie said, is understanding you need help and getting it. And you folks are great folks to be able to utilize to help make it better now. So don't wait any longer. If you're kind of lost, you're confused, you're feeling under the thumb of the IRS and the government, like most of us are, right? Reach out for help. Don't feel like you got to do this alone. You're not the pro. It's same thing in your screen printing shop. If you don't know how to print water-based, you're going to talk to somebody who can teach you. If you don't know how to run your books and reconcile, don't try alone. Get someone who can teach you, right? So that's a big part that I want to definitely focus on what you both just said. So love it. All right, Nick, take us away.
Yes, and that's a really good point too, Matt. I mean, if you don't know how to print water-based, you call somebody in, now you can print water-based. But if you don't know how to do your books and you do it wrong, oops, you lost your business. So probably not a good one to goof around on. The next question, we've said it a few times. Tell us, what is profit first? Tell it to us like we've never heard of it before.
What, Nick? All right, here we go. Hopefully people have heard of it. If not, I'll go through it. Actually, I think in the new downloaded audio version, if you don't have it, download it. It's fun. It's a fun book to listen to. It's easy to listen to, and he mentions us in it. So you definitely have to get it now. But so Profit First, all it is, it's a cash management system, and it does so many great things for a business. It really, in the end, it gives every single dollar that comes into your business a job and intention. And when you do that, miracles happen. Like literally, it's almost like miracles happen. It probably is. So for example, in a business, and you can certainly do this in your home life as well, but we're going to talk about business today, you have an income account. Profit First starts with opening 5 basic checking accounts. You might already be like, she's insane right now. I'm telling you, this is such an easy, and it's really a genius and simple system. You have 5 basic checking accounts. The first one's called income. You're going to dump all your money in there. That's where all your sales go. All your deposits go in that income account. Your other 4 accounts are going to be profit, owner's pay, owner's taxes, and operating expenses. Those are the other 4. And you're going to allocate from that income account to all those other accounts in that order, because the order is really important, based off percentages. So if you have a $10,000 week, let's say, all hitting your income account, Maybe you're going to put 1,000 in profit, maybe 2,000 in owner's pay, maybe 1,000 in owner's taxes, and then the balance of 6,000 goes in OpEx. That's just a very rough example. Maybe that's what you do. And then you're just going to keep following the system, and you're giving every dollar a job. Now, how do you come up with those percentages? Well, that's something that we do. The book will walk you through it as well. So again, if you're a master whiz at accounting numbers, the book will show you how to do it. We also have a proprietary software where we look at your books for the last 1 to 2 years. And what we do is we just say, hey, where'd every dollar go over the last 2 years in this business? And then it gives us percentages. Well, 3% went to profit and 12% went to owner's pay, whatever it is. And we start there because we're not looking to reinvent the wheel on day one. We just want to get you set up. So we're going to say, okay, where'd all the money go originally? One here. And now we want to get you over here. And we know based on the software that we use that the top performing screen printing companies in your revenue range, they operate over here. And they're at, I'm just guessing right now, like 10% profit, 20% owner's pay, 10% owner's taxes, and 40% OpEx. So that's where we want to get to, because if you're there, the owner's making great money, the place is profitable, owner's taxes are completely covered, so no worried about being profitable because your taxes are covered. And that remaining that's going to the OpEx, which is generally going to be your biggest amount, but that remaining, that's what you have left to operate the business on. And the genius I love about Profit First is it changes the way you think about operating your business, because, well, where before Profit First, you thought you had $10,000 to operate your business, you now have 6,000 or 4,000 or whatever it is we put in there. And so what do? You look for efficiencies. You look to cut costs. You look for better vendor deals, whatever it is, you just automatically, because before when you logged into bankofamerica.com or whatever, you looked at that one big account that you have and you said, oh, $10,000, great. How do I spend that today? That's how we all kind of work in our brain. So now with Profit First, you're going to log into your account and you're going to see 5 accounts, but you're only going to look at the one for OpEx because that's what you get to spend. So instead of 10,000, it's going to be 6. You're like, okay, great, 6,000. I get to spend that today. And you know what? Go for it. Spend it. That's okay, because we've already taken your profit, what the owner should be getting paid, and covered the taxes all set all day. So go ahead and spend that. So that's it. It's giving every dollar a job and intention. And then when you start getting into it, then you start really like fine tuning it. It becomes a game. You really gamifying this, which is what's going to make you a ton of money. So for screen printers, sometimes we have them open up even other accounts. I know the one company that I work with, I have him have his own COGS account or vendor payable account. Okay, you're only, he loves to overpay his vendors. So no, here's your budget. And I'm gonna take 30 cents on every dollar, and that's gonna go into your vendor account. And that's what you can spend on your inventory. That's shit you need to buy for your business. Like that's it. So and then we'll have a sales tax, because that ain't your money to spend anyway. So before you get in trouble, let's take that sales tax percentage, put that aside. That's another account. We're going to pay your sales tax out of that. So it's just a great way, again, to gamify, to give every dollar a job, and then your business seriously will hum. It'll just run effortlessly, and the profit's going to start to go through the roof, because your mind starts thinking, okay, if I need efficiencies, I need to look for savings. Do I really need that? Should I buy coffee? Whatever it is. And then it's just more and more profit happens. And how do I know this? Well, I've been a Profit First mastery professional for going on 5 years now, and I had to do it in my business originally. We now have about 60 businesses in Spark doing it, and every single one of them is killing it right now, except for 2. And the 2 that did not kill it, their business model was broken. And another thing I love about Profit First, but I haven't said enough, is that it'll immediately show you if your business model is broken. So with the 2 that I'm talking about, they're no longer in business. But honestly, thank God, because they were just losing money constantly. And the Profit First system showed them, hey, there's not enough in OpEx. Yeah, because your business can't support that. It can't support this. Your business, the model doesn't work. And we knew within 2 months that business model was broken. And he went off to do something else, and he couldn't be happier. That's one. I don't even know what happened with the other one, but it's great in that way. There are only 2. So 60 we have doing it. They're the ones that made it through 2020 with no problems. Still were able to participate in the government lending and are stronger than ever. Do you want to add anything? Yeah.
I got a quick question if I can. So you mentioned the importance of the sequence, right? Mm-hmm. So why is it that owner's pay is so much higher in that sequence than operational expenses and those other ones. Is there a reason behind that? Does that actually lend to any difference in how that owner works in their business then?
Yeah, that's extremely important. And I love that you just said that. The fact that it's even a question kind of shows the way entrepreneurs feel toward their businesses. And we need to fix that, Matt Marcotte. We got to fix that. So yeah, I mean, that business wouldn't exist without the owner, right? They created this thing out of nothing, and that is worth something. And so if the owner's not getting paid what they should be getting paid from the businesses they created, what's going to happen is resentment, negativity, and that weighs on the business. That's worse for the business. And so we see that all the time with the businesses we work with, especially prior to Profit First and the ones that don't do it. It's just the business owner is just like, oh God, what now? Like that's how they feel about their business. And you know what? It shows up in every single aspect of their business. It shows up in their customer service and their relationships with their vendors, with their relationships with their employees and their culture. And when you have that type of like, blah, going on, why would you expect the business to take off and be wonderful and profitable? And you just wouldn't. It just can't with that toxicity around. So the owner should be paid what they should be paid for the position that they do. And we want that paid right off the top. Oftentimes, based on your question, business owners kind of say, all right, well, after I pay everybody and everything and everybody else, let me see if maybe there's something left and I can take it. That is the opposite of what should be going on, because when they do that, resentment builds, negativity fosters, and then the business just starts to really just circle the drain. So owners pay really important.
So it shouldn't be that old saying I say of like, oh, if you're starting a business, don't expect to make money yourself for the first 2 years, right? I hear that nonstop. Is that not accurate? Is that starting off your business wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so, unless you have a set of projections to start up this brand new business, which shows that the owner's not going to be paid and why they're not going to be paid. But then why? I would question that set of projections. Okay, why can't this business pay the owner? And maybe there's a legit question. I mean, if we're talking about kind of angel investing in something that's not going to be revenue producing, like a new crazy app, like way down the road, I think only in that instance does that apply, where owners aren't going to get paid until the big payoff happens, because it could be a free app until they get to charge for it when they prove themselves. That's such a rare thing. I think that would be the only way I would see that. In this type of business, in retail, and any of the other millions of businesses out there and the ones that we work with, there's no reason why there isn't revenue being generated that cannot pay payroll, certainly cannot pay the owner as the number one employee in the business. So we're talking about owners that are working in the business as well. So yeah.
Love it. Good answer. And I think really important for our industry. I spent a lot of time in hundreds of shops, and I know exactly what you're talking about. The owners, bless their hearts, amazing folks trying their best, but there is a bit of a de-incentivizer if you're not able to actually take care of your needs and take care of yourself. And I understand the mentality of like, oh, I got to take care of these folks first. Like they believe in me. I have to take care of them. But you also should lead by example, right? You should be taking care of yourself and showing that it's important to take care of yourself and take care of them. And if you're only taking care of them, it's going to show. And like you said, it seeps out. It turns into a slight little toxicity that starts to aerate through the shop. And how you handle the culture, how you handle the conversations, how you handle someone saying, hey, I'd like a raise. Like, you want a raise? I want to get paid, right? And it turns into this really ugly thing. And I think that the first time I heard about Profit First, like it absolutely was like, oh yeah, the reason I don't want to go in the shop on the weekend and sprint is because I'm not getting paid, right? What's my time worth? And I'm devaluing my own time, and I made the shop, right? So I love that. And I think it's really vital for this industry, especially, to grasp that concept and take care of yourself, pay yourself. If you don't know how to start with that, that's why we're here.
Yeah, I have two things to add to that. And that was a really great feedback on that. And the number one is, with Profit First, it's percentage based, right? So it's not like the owner is getting a $10,000 a week paycheck when there's no income coming in, right? It's percentage based. So if you suck at selling and there's no revenue coming in, you're really not getting paid much anyway. As a matter of fact, the OpEx is going to be getting more than you. So it's percentage based. I know a lot of owners like to give pushback on this as well, so I'm adding to it. So you're getting paid the percentage of what the revenue is. So yes, they should. And secondly, if the owner can't pay themselves, like they literally can't, that business model has a problem. I mean, I would say that that's broken unless you can show that, like, you don't need to get paid for the first year because of blah, blah, blah. This is what you need for the first year. And second year I can go in. I mean, maybe, but you know what? The problem with projections is there's like a wish and a prayer. Like nobody actually follows them. Profit First is a live working budget with real money going into real accounts. So I would suggest, in that instance, if someone says, I really don't want to pay myself as the owner, I really want to do these other things, then make your percentage smaller, I guess. But I mean, I would say it's the wrong way to go. And then if you really can't pay yourself at all, I got to look at that business model.
So speaking of projections, I'm curious if you saw anyone who projected a airborne pandemic in 2020. And also, I'm wondering, what are people going to do with taxes? What are some of the differences? A lot of people in the chat are asking, how do I allocate my PPP loans? So could you tell us a little bit about how COVID has changed filing for 2020?
I could touch on that a little bit. I did not predict an airborne global pandemic, so sorry about that, guys.
Next time you'll get it.
Next time. So for the PPP, I know there was a few different questions. So I know there's a question on how do you know if you need, how do we determine if we need to pay it back? So to kind of like touch on that specifically, you would need to apply for forgiveness if you haven't yet. And then based on that forgiveness application, you would get feedback from your lender that's come from, so your lender reviews it, and then it goes up to the SBA, and then it trickles back down, and then you get that like final decision. And based on that ruling, if you do in fact, owe money on your PPP loan, then they would give you that information, and they've actually pushed out the date where you need to start repaying. So that might be some information that you'll be happy to hear. That's part of the secret society. We learned that recently, that they're pushing out the dates. It was initially you were going to have to start repaying in 2021, but they've pushed it out to, I believe, the end of 2022. I'll have to double check my notes because it was a new update. So that's part of like some stimulus rollouts that have just recently come out. But in terms of like a more broader sense of PPP and forgiveness, so essentially it started with 40% payroll, and then we rolled it out to 60% payroll in 24 weeks. So most of our clients were able to get full 100% forgiveness, like knock it out of the park with 100% payroll. So we weren't even bringing in like rent or utilities or all of that stuff, so that we could just super easy get that forgiveness for them, because most people spent their whole PPP over the course of 24 weeks, right, on payroll, because that loan was supposed to be for 8 weeks. So or 10 weeks rather. So, a lot of people were able to do that, and it was super simple to just pull those payroll documents, and, that's your supporting documentation for the forgiveness loan. So if you haven't already applied for forgiveness, that's, my advice on how to do so is to just, if you're able to, take that route. And, if you're able to apply for the PPP too, because you can prove, the reduction in your revenue, then absolutely go for that. If you don't have enough of a reduction in your revenue and you're able to apply for the employee reduction, the employee retention credit, then that's definitely something that's opened up. And you can do them both together. You just can't use them for the same amount of payroll. You can't double dip on the same payroll period, right? So if you're claiming it for forgiveness. For PPP, you can't also claim retention credits on that same payroll. But you can have them both for stimulus and for relief. So it's exciting stuff, guys. I know it's a lot of like.
No, that's the thing is, it's not exciting stuff for most of us. So the fact that you are excited about it is what we all need. And I know PPP is a big thing that people in the chats have been asking about, and it's also things that I hear nonstop, and I'm even curious about too, being a small business owner myself. So that's good to know. I didn't know that we had until 2022 to pay that back too. So that's great insight to gain. I appreciate you sharing that. And all this keeps just driving into me like, I don't know what the hell's going on with this stuff. I should not be trying to do this. I should be reaching out to you folks, right? The more you talk, the more I go, oh shit, right? So that's good. That's a good thing, because I need to reach out to folks like you. I think more folks are like that than they're willing to admit, if I'm being honest. And I'm sure you've seen that too. We're like, oh, we don't need help. And then you get in there and you're like, you don't need help, huh? Well, look at this, look at this, look at this.
Yeah.
Everyone can use some help from that. So that's great. Folks in the chat, if you have any questions, we still got the next 15 minutes. We have some more questions to go through. Don't be afraid to
the bottom line on the PPP is that it is literally free money. I mean, it's free money, and so is the employee retention credit. So to get that, you have to go through payroll, because all payroll driven off your 941. So if you're interested, you would want to probably start talking to your payroll company about that. You file a different form through them to get it. But the PPP is free. So as long as you use it for payroll, and then maybe if you don't have enough payroll, then you can use it for, utilities and rent and little things like that. But for the most part, all of our clients have been use it for payroll, because you can use it for such a long period of payroll. But you're gonna get it free. Now the only way, it's kind of ridiculous for me to even say that, but you do. It is free money. The only thing is you have to be able to prove the 2020 sucked, right? That in 2019 you had bigger money, and you made more money. In 2020 you went down, and you had a shitty year. You just have to be able to prove that. And by proving that, they need to see a 25% reduction in one quarter from 2020 to 2019, right? So that is 25% reduction in revenue, not in profit, in revenue, top line revenue. So if you have that, there is no reason to not get the PPP, the second round before they close that at the end of May, and the employee retention credit, like Steph mentioned, to use for different things. It'd be crazy not to, because it's literally free money.
So I got a question in the chat here. Shirley Soto's asking, self-employed with no employees, just two partners, LLC. How do we prove non-payroll? What are your thoughts there?
So what they're requiring for that is your K-1s. So you would just need your tax returns to prove payroll. So you'd have to kind of like hurry up and file.
Gotcha. And somebody who's like that, they don't have anybody on their payroll, but maybe they're taking owner's draws. Does owner's draws come into factor when it comes to how you're filing?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so they should be notating what their owner's draws are. It's not kind of like free money they could take. They have to actually account for that when they're reconciling.
Of course.
Right. So when we're working with a client similar to that, a single member LLC, even a partner LLC, and that means if you're an LLC, that the owners cannot be on payroll, right? It's illegal for an owner to be on payroll with an LLC. So for those clients, what we do is they take what's called guaranteed payments or owner's draws. And when we work with them, we drop those down to the bottom of the P&L as an other expense just during the year, so the client can see what they're taking. Because when you're not really on payroll, like a regular employee, it's hard for that owner to really know, because sometimes they're just like, oh, I'm going to go to Target today or whatever, and they're going to call that employee, owner's draw. They shouldn't do that. It just happens. So we drop that down and I leave that in the bottom so that they know throughout the year what they're taking would be called draws. So the clients that work with us that are LLCs, we have that all in one report, and we use that number on the PPP application to say, here are the draws that this owner took, and then they can use that for the calculation to get the loan.
Got it. Thank you.
So another question related to 2020. At Printavo, we saw a lot of shops moving into out-of-state fulfillment, selling shirts online, doing e-commerce, sending packages across state lines. Can you tell us a little bit about how the state tax nexus will affect these people's filing as they might be starting up to send stuff
and teach us about the nexus
lines?
for those of us that have no clue what the hell that word even means.
Sure. So the word nexus means to have a presence, I believe. I'm pretty sure. I do know what the word means, but I think that that's, yeah, nexus means like presence, I think.
Sounds right. I'm going to believe you.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm pretty sure that's correct. At least that's, yeah, that's like that's the thought behind the nexus anyway. So, but the whole thing about like sales tax for your industry, it's like super important. There's like, it's kind of like an onion. There's a lot of layers to it that you kind of need to peel. But we can start with the nexus if you'd like. So I know that shipping was like a huge thing last year. So there's different laws for different states, and there's destination-based sales tax for some states, and there's origin-based sales tax for others. So it depends what state you're in. The laws are going to be different pertaining to your sales tax depending on where you live. So you would need to make sure that you check with your, state department to make sure, you're filing based on that. Like obviously you need to register and know, whether you're destination-based or origin-based. So that's huge because obviously if you're origin-based, you're charging based on where your shop is, and if you're destination-based, you charge sales tax based on wherever the product ends up. And that's just kind of to start. But then if you are now like shipping a lot of product out, you may develop a nexus in another location. And that depends on where you're shipping to based on their different rules. And that is, you can create a nexus by shipping a certain quantity of items or a certain dollar amount of items can trigger a nexus in a location. So if you have like a really big following in Nashville, you're shipping tons of stuff there, you could trigger a nexus by constantly.
This is already making my mind hurt. So if I've got an e-commerce store, maybe I'm using Printavo merch, or I'm using something else for an e-commerce solution, and I'm hosting an online store and it takes off. It does great. We took notes from Stephen Fair. We learned how to do it. It's blowing up, right? And we're sending little onesie twosie shirts all over the country, right?
Right.
Is this something that if we had you folks set up to help with our books, where we can just say, hey, all the data is right here, you can just take care of it for us? Is that something that you folks do to help kind of like make life easier? Because as you're talking about like, oh, dollar amount or how many items are sent in that one location versus your location, I'm having a mild anxiety attack trying to figure out how the hell I'm going to reconcile, rectify any of that. Is that something that you folks also focus on? Because that right there already tells me like, I don't want to try. Please just do it. Is that something you folks specialize with?
Yeah, that is like super stressful, right? And that is something that we do. And we work with TaxJar to integrate with Printavo to do that. Because once you're shipping like all over and you have to track like how many shipments there are, or like the quantity of shipments and the dollar amount of shipments to watch for a nexus trigger, and be aware of the destination versus origin, tax rates, and if you're one of the places that has like all the different municipality rates and all those different kind of things that you need to be aware of, then TaxJar is it's a lot. TaxJar is amazing. And then the other thing that comes up a ton in your industry is just like right off the bat, like the first thing that you do when you get a customer, like I feel like so many of your customers are like tax exempt, right? Like you have a lot of like wholesalers or resellers, or like exempt entities like schools or charitable company, like churches or different things like that, you know, organizations that are for one reason or another tax exempt, right? So in that case, you would need to be getting those, the documentation that, you know, proves that, keeping that on file, and then making sure that that's all set up correctly so that you're not accidentally charging sales tax on these items, and that that's all organized and then that's all good, like from the get-go, like building that foundation so that everything's good to go there, like in addition to like all of the implications with like where you're shipping to. So there's a lot that like in particularly your industry needs to be really kind of cognizant of when dealing with sales tax.
Yes,
So
and I'm terrified and going to be calling you later.
Okay. All right, we'll talk.
We're getting close to the hour. If there are any you have questions, please do say them. Also, sounds like the ladies are happy to jump on a call to talk more about your specific business. So my last question, we've been talking a lot about the custom apparel industry, but you work with other industries. So I'm wondering, is there anything you've seen in the aggregate, like trends you've noticed for small businesses or contrast between apparel to other industries, looking at not just our industry, but maybe the economy as a larger whole? What have you noticed in the life cycle of a small business?
You're on mute, Kasey. Kasey, you're on mute.
No, I'm not.
Oh, no, now you're good.
Okay.
It picked up, you're good.
Here's what I have noticed in my foray into the screen printer world, as it is. Maybe it's not all screen printers, maybe that's just some of you, but I see a lot of times people want to complicate things. So, and I do see this in other industries as well, but I have definitely found this a lot in the screen printer world. And maybe it's because you guys share so much great data. I would never want to take that away. But it's really important to keep everything simple. Like, keep it simple. Get fancy later if you absolutely have to. So in terms of your industry, what I would say is, like, you know what it costs you to buy a shirt, and then what it costs you to put what it is you're going to put on it, and then what you're going to sell it for, and make sure you maintain that margin. Like, this is where I find goes awry, especially with the bigger companies, because all of a sudden their cost of goods sold, and this is where we find the crux of a lot of issues with screen printers, is creeping up 40, 45, 50%. And that's just too high. I'm sorry, it's just way too high. And so for us to drill back down, well, why is it? No, it shouldn't be. It should be 35. Well, it's not. Well, it should be. Well, it's okay. And then we got to go all the way back and figure out, what does this cost and what are we selling it for? So my first thing I'd say about the screen print industry is just make sure you don't need to have really super pretty, colorful 19-page spreadsheets. You just need to know what you bought something for and what you're going to sell it for, and it needs to work. So keeping things simple. So I would say that that always comes up for me. And the other industries we work with, I mean, some complicate things a little bit, but I don't say not as much as the screen printers I've noticed do that. So just know, like, it's really just following the dollar. It's not complicated, and to love what you do, which you guys all seem to do that. And then in terms of the money that came out of the government last year, again, all of our clients were able to, I think every one of our clients participated in government funding of some kind, even the EIDL. So you have the PPP, which is for the Paycheck Protection Program. So that was for payroll, and that's 100% forgivable if used correctly. And then you also had the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, that you get money right from the SBA, so no local lender. And that is a very low interest loan that's now not due for 2 years, which is amazing for cash flow. So everyone kind of got this money, and I think a lot of people are really holding on to it, deciding what to do. And I think that's a really good thing, because now you have this opportunity that probably would never come along ever in another world. Would this come along to have this kind of money, this access for small businesses? We work with hundreds of banks, and they do not like small businesses. It's very hard to get money out of them. But the government came along because of COVID and gave everybody money. So now you have it, and just being really thoughtful and planful about how you're going to use and spend that money to grow your business is going to be key going into 2021, I think. And a lot of people haven't decided yet. And I know there was a question about buying equipment, buying whatever it is that you think you need to buy for your business. And my answer would be this: whatever you decide to do with that money, make sure that it's going to make you money, and it's going to make you enough money to cover the payment that you're going to owe. So if a $150,000 loan, that's a common one the government was giving out on the EIDL, the payment's going to be about $750 a month, I believe. So whatever you plan on doing with that 150, make sure that you can cover that payment, and not like just, oh, someday I'm going to buy this thing, and maybe a couple of years I'm going to be huge. No, like, have a plan, know whatever you're buying, how you're going to implement it, and when that's going to start showing that return. You need to have a plan to pay that back. It can't just be like, oh, this is a good idea, let me try this. It doesn't work that way. So just be planful of it. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it did. Can you also help? I mean, I know you're not necessarily financial advisors so much, right? But if someone's working with you and they have a plan, they think, and they want to go after something that maybe they do need to get some credit for, do you folks kind of help offer like, hey, looking at what you have, I don't think that's a great idea? Or do you kind of stay away from that and kind of push that more toward another financial advisor?
Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely come at it. We definitely can answer that question, but we're not bankers, right? So we're not necessarily investors. So if they're coming to ask for that advice, I can't speak to them as a banker. I'm not the one who's going to be giving them that loan. I can speak to them in terms of common sense and how I believe that any bank would operate or make the decision based on what you're presenting. And we do that a lot. We work with a lot of people, startups, and half the time we're telling them to not start up like that. It's not going to work. But if somebody comes in and says, this is what I want to do, will we look at the plan and we will question it in all the right ways and give them, I think, very valuable feedback? Yeah, absolutely.
Got it. Perfect. Last question before we close out the hour. I want to get this one in from Josh. He's got a great question. He's wondering if he should be itemizing vendor shipping costs when he's notating for his books, or is that kind of breaking it apart too much and he should keep it more simple, like you said, Kasey?
Yeah, I mean, I might let Steph take this one, but I'll just say, well, it would always be why. I think you'll probably hear me say why a lot. Why would you separate out the shipping costs? Is there a tax implication on the shipping cost? Not that I see right off the bat. It could depend on the state you're in. There's no tax implication. It's still part of your cost of goods sold because we're talking about vendor shipping costs. So I do not see a reason to break that out off the top of my head. And that's also on the guise of, I want to keep it simple. I want to know all in, what's it take for you to have this shirt on your shelf? And then make sure we're selling it for the right price. Steph, can you add anything to that?
I would separate it out, because I would also be separating out your shipping charges that you're charging your customers, because only if shipping is a big part of your like revenue, if that's like a lot of what you're doing right now, because I feel like a lot of people are losing their shirts on shipping. They're just like not paying close enough attention to it, because so many people were like, oh shit, I'm not doing live events anymore. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm going to be like just shipping things out. And so they weren't paying close attention to how shipping got really expensive, like supply and demand, like shipping skyrocketed, and it continues, like the shipping costs are going up. So as you're not paying attention to that, you lose track of it, you lose sight of it. So if you break out what you're charging your customers for shipping and then what you're being charged for shipping, you can make sure that that is either aligned enough where you're breaking even, or you're making a small profit on just those two line items, shipping to shipping. And that's my answer.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds a lot of great questions, a lot of specific questions. But remember, you can talk to Stephanie and Kasey and ask them about your business. I saw Tyler, shoot me an email. Anybody watching, shoot me an email over at nick@printavo.com, NICK@printavo.com, and then I will connect you with them. But ladies, this was incredibly informative. I feel like I understand the topic so much better than I did at the start of our talk. It was a joy to talk to you. Yeah, Matt, any last thoughts?
Kind of what I've been reiterating the whole time is like, don't try to do it yourself unless you are that person that loves doing this. I think that we've really come, I think COVID kind of helped, like a silver lining, just like, okay, just focus on what you're good at and let the other experts help you with what you don't know and what you're not good at. I think this has really hammered that point into home, especially for me. I do own a small print shop myself, and we've been kind of winging it, trying our best, talking to an accountant, trying to figure things out. And I don't think it's the right way to go. I think we can gain a lot more by having folks like the two of you that are passionate. I mean, watching Stephanie light up when she talked about PPP loans, not for me, no thanks, but it's awesome. And I can understand that passion for things that I'm passionate about too. So I think it really just drives home like, hey folks, there are folks out there like Spark, and there's other ones too. Reach out, get some help. Don't try to fight this good fight alone when there are great people out there that can help. I do want to thank you both, Stephanie and Kasey, for joining. Where can folks reach out? They can reach out to Printavo and we'll connect them with you, but where can they go to find out more about you two and Spark?
They can go to sparkbusinessconsulting.com. That's our website. So they can reach out there, and we can definitely share. So they can email us. My email directly is stephanie@sparkbusinessconsulting.com. You can kind of see it behind me. So I can put that in the chat if that, oh, you're doing it. So Stephanie, STEPHANIE @sparkbusinessconsulting.com. So you can reach out to me with any questions that you have, or check out our website. You can contact us directly through there. I think that's just the best way.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you both so much.
Oh, absolutely our pleasure. We're so happy to be here, and we really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you guys.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you both. Thank you all for watching. This will be available for rewatch at the same link. So right at the end, you can rewatch it if you want to see some parts. We're going to put it on our YouTube channel. But otherwise, have a happy April Fool's Day and a happy Easter weekend. And we will be seeing y'all again soon. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.